There's something where our self-defensive fight, flight, freeze modes become replaced by curiosity. Instead of deepening our control over life, there needs to be this melting into the very fabric of life to unfold our power for change and transformation from a place of love within the very fabric of life.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Simon Phillips, your host of The Change Show. And I'm so delighted to have with me today Kosha Joubert. Serves as the CEO of the Pocket Project, a non-profit organization focused on healing the collective trauma in our communities, our organizations, and our countries across the world. Indeed, Kosha was a co-host of the 2019 and 2020 online summit on collective trauma. She holds an MSc in organizational development, is an international facilitator, and has worked extensively in fields of sustainable development, curriculum development, and intercultural collaboration as an author, a coach, and a consultant. Kosha grew up in South Africa under apartheid and has been dedicated to the healing of collective trauma ever since. She received the Daddy Janki Award for engaging spirituality in life and work, and the One World Award for her work with the Global Eco Village Network. Kosha, tell me a little bit more about growing up in South Africa during apartheid and how that has impacted your whole life.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. I guess I was very quickly induced to the energy of change making, because I grew up in a world where discrepancies were so glaringly obvious.
Yeah.
Even in my intimate family, where Christian values met with ways of speaking about other people that just didn't work.
Yeah.
Where a concept that we needed apartheid to keep safe just didn't meet ethical alignment. And I think many of us as children have very warm, sensitive hearts that are vibrantly open to perceive these discrepancies, and that over time we actually learn to shut down more and more. So I grew up in that. I noticed this, I spoke to it, and very soon I started hitting walls in my family, in my school, and started joining the anti-apartheid movement. And then as an older teenager, we moved to Holland, where that grew into a full-fledged activism, where I was engaged with the ANC in Amsterdam. I worked to bring a women's summit together in Amsterdam, bringing women together. But what it really taught me is how we can create separation between us.
Yeah.
Deepen that with the systems that we create. And then what I learned as a young adult at the university in Amsterdam was to realize that actually what I had seen as apartheid in South Africa is actually a global system that is just much more subtly underbuilt by systems that keep us apart from nature, apart from each other, that allow the discrepancy between rich and poor to grow, privilege not to be used in care for each other, but in terms of safeguarding our own, which leads us to the world that we are in today. So that is where I come from, and that is what sparked my change-making passion.
Tell us then that when you first noticed the connection between that sort of system that you grew up in and the notion of collective trauma.
Yeah, so it's very obvious that a system like that is built on collective trauma and creates collective trauma. I really was searching for an answer to how do I become an effective change maker? How do we really, truly transform these systems? And I would say that is still the search that I am. In that case, for the regenerative community movement, the Global Eco Village Network, which I led for many years. And this is one of the consortiums in the world where I would say some of the highest intentions come together with a huge skill set around how do we heal relationships with nature? How do we heal relationships with each other? practiced over long periods of time in continuous community. So I had the privilege of moving in what we could call places of hope. More than 6,000 regenerative communities around the planet on all continents. And I had the beautiful privilege of traveling, learning, teaching, connecting, growing friendships across all of these. And what I found is that in these places where we dedicate ourselves as change makers to positivity, to healing, to regeneration, and we actually create safe environments where that can be implemented. Yes, we see the beauty of what we can create together, but at the same time, they become like invitation places for unseen material to arise. So I think we all know this from our most beloved intimate relationships where we fall deeply in love with someone and the world is beautiful. 25 years of engagement brought me to shift my work to say, I wish to address this body of more unseen energy, individual, ancestral, collective trauma, and the resilience that we carry that allows us to digest that and transform it into post-traumatic growth. That is what I want to dedicate my life to. And that is what I'm doing now.
That's fabulous. It's a fascinating journey you've taken because it sounds like by immersing yourself in all of those situations, you've amassed this amazing skill set. So you can do the organizational design stuff and the sustainability, but equally you're at home in that space that's all about intercultural collaboration and how all of those things emerge as well. So all of that has now emerged into Pocket Project. So do you want to share with us a little bit more about the vision and mission of that organization?
Yeah, so the Pocket Project was founded in 2017 by Thomas Hübel and his wife, Yehudit Sasportas. So I've been working very closely with Thomas Hübel for many, many years, 20 years. And yeah, it's a real honor and joy to work closely with him on the manifestation of this vision of growing pockets of healing for pockets of trauma, pockets of pain around the world. An enormous amount of joy and passion to be found in bringing trauma-informed approaches to our teams and our organizations, which, I think at the heart of that is also that it teaches us that love is not what happens where love flows easy. Love is what happens where we hit the edges, the difficulties, and can stay with it. Those are the moments where traumatic energy that was caught up can truly be released and healed. That's where love unfolds its fullest potential to flower, is in the difficult places. So, embracing the difficulties as the heart of our path, because that's where life brought enough courage to show up for healing. Embracing the beauty of that is wonderful.
How are you engaging with organizations and communities currently? Because specifically in a sort of corporate organizational setting, this message we know is a real challenge, and it doesn't fit the norms of metrics and performance and goals and objectives and all the rest of it. We know that it absolutely underpins everything that's going on in that organization, but how do you position it so that people understand how they can engage with this and work with it?
Yeah, at the moment we live in a time where crisis times where I think it becomes more and more evident that we cannot meet the challenges that we are facing with surface solutions. Whether we're speaking about the war in Ukraine, the war in the Middle East, about climate crisis, these are not issues. We're moving into the 29th and the 30th UN climate conference with very little, if any, improvements and rather steps back being taken. So it's clear that surface solutions are not doing it, and that we need a deeper awareness and looking at the roots of where does our separation from Earth, from each other, from the natural systems originate from? What lies at the root? And I believe that as we go to the root, we find layers and layers of trauma of different kinds, So how we are working with this, because at the moment the world is quite a frightening place to be, people can easily move into despair and overwhelm, is by starting within, as I said, so we offer a beautiful training again this year, the Applied Trauma-Informed Leadership course, which brings very concise practices that can be integrated on a daily basis. We are bringing direct trauma relief work to Ukraine, Palestine, Israel, just starting in Africa, and engaging with the places that are deeply hurting right now, working through networks of local therapists and with organizations in those areas is another way of bringing resourcing, trauma-informed approaches to preparing the ground for post-traumatic growth to some of the most places that are pulsing with raw hurt at the moment. And I feel like we're learning a lot from that and allowing that to flow into all of our work, also with
Yeah, I was going to say it must be an amazing learning journey, because literally this work hasn't been done in this way before. And putting yourself right in the heart of potentially the most traumatic spaces around the world means that it's more than being stress tested. So if you can make it work in those spaces and help people in those spaces, then we can all look at that as a great opportunity for bringing it to life inside organizations and communities where there's less of an immediate threat, if you like, and more of a, just as you say, that history and underpinning of trauma from the past. So
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think, as you say, I think it brings in a strand of essential ethical learning that is necessary, but also that clear call to pick up our responsibility as humanity for what is happening in certain places. And there's something about that that heals us as organizations to take our rightful place in the collaboration on a global level towards a global healing movement.
On that subject, you won the Daddy Yankee One World Award a little while ago. What did that mean to you when you won that award?
Well, I mean, it was really an award for bringing spirituality and alignment practice into my work in the world. And yeah, I think as change makers today, if we don't have a connection to something that is bigger than ourselves, it becomes very hard to stay resourced and guided. For me, inner guidance, so I do meditate an hour every day, and that is where I find insight and guidance that doesn't come from this mind space. So we need to refine our inner compass in a very complex world. And I'm experiencing myself that this need to grow our inner vessel for me as an individual, but then also by finding our communities in groups and teams where we can cohere with each other on a level of awareness of shared practice, that this allows complexity, seeming complexity or complicatedness to land in a space where we can find my inner direction, but also as a team, what is our next step? Yeah. As a larger organization, what is our next step? So there is that alignment that is so important.
In the now, the next step quite often seems more obvious, doesn't it? So what's next for Pocket Project?
Yeah, we're excited, because this is a time of crisis. And part of what has been happening to me in the past months is listening to more and more news about weapon deliveries, the next war breaking out. We know it. And I have felt in myself and the many people that I'm in touch with through the Pocket Project a kind of a closeness to deep disappointment, despair arising. We're initiating the World Women's Summit, which will take place from the 5th to the 9th of June, and bring out voices that speak to that moment in the midst of crisis where we can stop, go deep. So this is our next invitation to you, and we would warmly invite you all to join us for the World Women's Summit.
So, as you know, Kosha, we've got the Changemaker Pledge where we're setting that up to help individuals who maybe have aspirations of being a change maker and following a similar path to yourself, or maybe they're already doing change making work and they'd love to be part of a community of other change makers. If you were to reflect on your journey, what would you say were the top one or two change-making attributes, if you like, that you've had to bring to your work consistently?
Well, one that immediately comes is that as we create transformation from high intention, that we have this unconscious invitation to life to show up for healing. So wherever we come with a real intention, life will meet us with pain, resistance, seeming resistance, difficulties.
Yeah.
And the higher our aspiration and the more beautiful our intention, the stronger this will feel. So I would say my main learning has been literally in the moments where I meet the resistance. So I'm coming here, I have this beautiful dream of what I'm wanting to create, right? And I bring it into the world and wow, there's the difficulty, right? There's this person who say, oh, you're so naive, this will never work, or, whatever. There's a real difficulty. Maybe it's a difficulty in my own personality that I'm meeting, or in the funding, the resourcing stream, a war breaking out around me, It's a lot happening. And in those moments, our fear responses come up, right?
Yeah.
There's the fight, there's the flight, there's the freeze. And, to become tender with ourselves in those moments, to stay with ourselves and to stay with this difficulty and to make this dance, which is the place where we so often leave the situation. We so often leave, and then we come back to it again and again. It becomes a repetitive pattern to stay with and melt. And this melting process, I find, happens on all levels at the same time. It's within me, it's in my relationships to the world, and there's the miracle that the world starts melting. When all of this starts melting, the world starts melting too, and where there was a wall before, it becomes a door, it becomes a window, it opens, and I can walk through. And that, that's one. But it's such a strong one, which I've met again and again. And I would say the second one is one I'm in the process of really deepening right now, which is around collaboration on higher and higher levels. This movement from competition to collaboration. So as I'm listening to you, am I listening for what is it you really wanting to bring? What is it that your heart is beating for? What is that unique Simon stream of manifestation that is wanting to come in? And if I can welcome that, we can really create something together. And it's, I think, a very powerful capacity and skill to listen into each other for the potential that is wanting to come through.
Absolutely love that. Kosha, it's been a real treat to spend a few moments in your world and understand the opportunity, because I think it is transformative, the work that you're doing. And obviously, I'm just one voice amongst thousands that have recognized the work that you're doing as being amazing. So thank you for sharing some of the principles that sit behind that, and also giving us insight as to how we can get mobilized in a similar direction. So nobody gets off the Change Show without us answering a very important question, Kosha, which is, what piece of music would you love to add to the Change Show playlist? What's nurtured you on your journey, or given you that little spike of energy when you needed it, or maybe just been something that just comes around every time and you've noticed it in that fashion? What can we add to the playlist?
Yeah, so it would have to be one from Africa for me. And there is so much music that opens my heart widely. But there's Ayub Ogada from Côte d'Ivoire, which I will send you the link to, and I invite all of you to listen to, because it's just a song when your heart is on the brink of opening wider. This will support you to fly.
Love it. So powerful music, isn't it? So powerful. Lovely. Kosha, you've been a wonderful guest. Thank you so much for coming on the Change Show. And we'll share all those links and invite people to come and join you at that summit in June. June the 9th, I think you said.
June the 5th to the 9th.
June the 5th to the 9th. Wonderful.
That's right.
To do that. Excellent. Thank you so much. And look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you, Simon. All the best to you.